afternoon, everybody. We are live, #Safari Live on Twitter, and you can also follow us on YouTube chat. My name is Noelle, and we have Jean-Dre on camera. It is hot. It is warm out here in the Lowveld. We were just watching a little Crested Franklin, and it was busy. I don't actually know what the term is, but they do this funny thing with their throat when they're very, very hot to help cool themselves down. So we are just going to travel through this little dip here and come around. We might lose a little bit of signal, but we're going to see if we can find anything mud wallowing or any more birds, maybe some birds resting in the shade, and see what happens on this very, very, very hot day. It's about 34 degrees Celsius, which would make it about 88 Fahrenheit. So yeah, it's warm. It is very, very warm. Okay. Here we go. So yeah, it's warm. Looking in the shade for creatures is the best thing on a day like this. Because remember, a lot of the animals that we're viewing here in the Lowveld, well, anywhere in Africa, don't sweat like we sweat. So we get rid of all of our perspiration. Oh, here we go. This is not an animal, but I've been wanting to do this. Herbie showed me this super amazing bush the other day that was new for me. I know lots, but I by all means don't know everything. And this is a dwarf scotia. So a scotia would also be a weeping bourbein. Very similar flowers, but that red color is just absolutely amazing. I don't know enough about it. It is something that I have to do some research on. But yeah, just from a pretty factor, nice, very nice. And you'll notice as we get closer into the middle of summer, everything's going to start flowering at different times, and it's basically to provide food source for animals, not just like there's a little ant that's there, food source for animals, insects, mammal species, bird species throughout the seasons. To give to help sustain not just the bare minimum, but the diversity of species. So we were talking a little bit the other day with Tristan's Drive about species diversity. The Mara has a high species richness, and we have a high species diversity. So while we're busy trying to find the diversity that we can offer here in the Lowveld, we're going to head over to Tristan and see what's happening with his time-lapse cameras for Sebastian and what he's finding on the other side of the reserve. So we will enjoy ourselves, as I'm sure you're all going to enjoy the drive. It's your birthday. It's your birthday for like another 12 hours. What can we get up to make Tristan giggle for his birthday? That's all something we can think about for our next little segment. Okay. Species diversity, come out. Ooh. Do you know what I would really like to see, to be honest with you, besides the wallowing, is maybe if we can find elephants doing some sunbathing as well. So yeah, let's head on over to Tris and see what he's up to.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a blazing hot, beautiful Djuma Game Reserve. It is a stunning, stunning day. There's not a cloud in the sky, there's a little breeze, and it just feels like a great time to be alive. Now, this is live, this is interactive, so remember #Safari Live on Twitter or YouTube chat. But before we even get into all of that, I've completely forgot to introduce myself. As Noel mentioned, my name is Tristan, and on camera today we have Senzo and the three fingers as per normal. Hello, Senzo. So sorry about that, everybody. I don't know why I forgot about my name. I was too excited to be introducing the beautiful day that we're having, because it is just the most wonderful weather to be out. Probably a little warm to be out just yet, but still very, very nice nonetheless. Now, like I said, we are going to try and sort of check around shady areas because it is so hot. I want to try quickly go to Treehouse Dam just because I need to do our time lapse, and so Senzo needs to jump off and do that. And then after that, I think we're going to head probably down towards maybe Twin Dams, it's a little bit of the Mulawati Sea, maybe if Hosana came north, also if there's any ellies around. Lots of elephant tracks from last night. I know there were elephants at the dam yesterday, elephants around Treehouse and all over the place, and so hopefully with this hot weather that's caused the ellies to come down to some of these water points, and we'll get lucky with them. Failing all of that, well, I think late this afternoon I want to try and head towards the hyena den, go and check up what's happening that side if Noel's not that way, and then maybe, just maybe, Mvula comes back after those fresh tracks that we had yesterday, this morning, that went northwards into Buffelshoek. I want to try and go and follow up on those and see what's happening. But it promises to be a good one. I've also got to drive now that I've got to try and find a woodland kingfisher, because I said woodland kingfisher on the 6th. Now I have seen a woodland kingfisher already, but I haven't got it on camera, so it doesn't count until it's on camera, according to the rest of the crew, which is fairly true, I would imagine. I would also argue the same point. And so my mission today is to try and find a woodlands and get it on camera as well, so that I can win the bet, because so far I'm 2 out of 3 of our little competitions that we've had. So I've had the rain bet, the impala lamb bet, and now hopefully they'll get the woodlands. Now, it's not just myself and Noel out here. There is also the other bearded warrior, but he's on the other side of Africa. He's up in the east plains of Kenya, and he is wanting to say hello. So let's quickly jump across to Scotty D.
Lucky on his birthday with finding you a woodlands kingfisher. Here in the Masai Mara, it's not as hot and sunny as it is at Djuma. We've already had a bout of rain which caused us to drop our rain covers, and as you can see, there's quite a lot more rain out there, which is to the north of us, and often that rain will continue south to where we are here. How awesome is that? You can actually see where the rain begins and ends, and it's making its way towards us. So even though it's not raining right this second, we are going to keep our flaps down, because I think that storm is going to catch us shortly. But what we're going to try and do is head south and run away from it. My name's Scott. I'm teamed up with Manu on camera, and it's just myself out this afternoon in the Mara. Taylor is having a much needed break, and I think her and Davy, the one cameraman, have headed off to do some safari parkour, where they go running and jumping over rocks and through the riverine areas to get some exercise. So that's what they're up to. And she didn't have the most successful morning out here today. She didn't have too much info for me. I was also had the morning off. So we'll just head out and see what we can find. Good stuff. We are going to send you back to Noel, who has found you some warthog.
Hello everyone, we have found some very hot warthogs. We're just trying to find the best shot for you, and they are inching a little bit to the right, but the problem is that the shadow that they've found to rest in and be not so hot is a little bit difficult for the camera. So I'm just going to try to very carefully move without chasing them away. So warthogs is something that we see often, but you would actually be amazed at, not just for us, but for, if you're here for photography, how difficult it is to actually photograph warthog. You see that. So they waited until I moved, got into a perfect position, and then they decided to run away. So hopefully they come out into the road. Come warthogs, come into the road near that impala. I can see you wanting to. Oh, there is that beautiful little impala. Here they come, here they come. There we go, perfect. Little tails in the air so that they don't get caught by something like a cheetah that's chasing them, and now they've relaxed, tails down. But Tristan has one of my favorite species over by him, a tiny, teeny, teeny, tiny baby elephant. So I think let's head over that side and see what Tristan has to say about that gorgeous little creature.
Well, we have the cutest little baby elephant that's just come from Treehouse Dam. So it's just sitting with mom. They're completely separate from a herd. So there's no other sign of a herd in this area, which means that I think that this little one is fairly new. I wonder, it's a little bit wobbly on its feet. It's still kind of trying to work things out. Mom is guiding it along. You can see it's kind of falling over a little bit as it tries to move, and ears are going full tilt to try and cool itself down, but it is super cute. I haven't seen a baby Ellie this small in a long time, and like I say, it's so cool. This little one has kind of just come out of the mud. It's been obviously mud wallowing with mom. Mom's been showing it how to stay nice and cool in hot conditions like this, and what I was saying about checking the water holes is paying off. This is exactly what you would see normally at hot days like this, is big animals, so elephants and buffalo, spending a lot of time around water to try cool themselves down. And it's vitally important that mom teaches this little baby how to be able to keep cool and to be able to stay cool in hot weather like this. Ultimately, this little baby, I can tell you right now, has never experienced summer before, so I reckon it's probably only a few days old, given how wobbly it is and how it's trying to stay up with mom the whole time. Now I'm going to just sneak a little bit further forward so that we can keep up with it, but I don't want to stress it too much. So once it gets into a little thicket, we're going to leave it there, because at the end of the day, we don't want too much of a stress put on her. Now I believe a lot of you are oohing and ahhing over the cuteness. It is a cuteness overload, that is for sure. This little one is super sweet, and it's amazing when you see them. Look, it even still fits under its mom. It can walk in and out completely, and you see what it's doing? It's using its mother for shade. So it knows that mom, being a large object, can provide shade, and that's why when they're born, they are able to fit underneath their mothers. They are able to get under, even in the hottest part of the day when there's not too much of a shadow cast. She can still get underneath, or he, depending if it's a little male or female, and hide under the mom's body for a little bit of shade and to stay nice and cool. But it is definitely a tiny individual. You can see very wobbly and unsure on its feet. It's not able to actually be able to kind of keep itself together. And I think that this little elephant was born probably overnight last night, because the thing is yesterday we have had no elephants around here anyway. Yesterday there was massive herd of elephants here. They were very uneasy. Their demeanor was that of something concerning them. I was parked very far away from them, and they were heads up, ears out. The whole herd seemed to be unsettled. Now we come to Treehouse Dam, the following day, and there's a little baby elephant that is still wobbling and no sign of the rest of the herd. So I think this little one was born yesterday, and I think that's why it's only 24 hours old. So, Francis from Israel, you think you can see the umbilical cord? Well, that would make sense. If it was born yesterday, most certainly will still have that attached, but it is just the cutest little thing in the whole world. I'm going to try and just catch up, because there's a really big tree there that I think they might sit under and just chill in the shade for a little bit, and maybe mom will start feeding. So I'm just going to try and sneak up in there. It's not too thick. I'm not going to hit any trees or anything like that and disturb her too much. Ultimately, if I see her carrying on moving, I'll leave her, but it's just such a cute little animal to start our safari. And what good luck. We've had the most incredible week this week with baby animals. It's been just the most fantastic time. We've had baby hippo, baby crocodiles, plover babies. We've had obviously Shadow's cub, elephant baby. It's all happening. It's just been the best time, and that's why I love this time of the year, is because you do see all of these baby animals. I even forgot our little impala lamb, the first impala lamb of the season as well. So it's just been an absolutely kind of amazing week, as we've discovered so many new little characters that have joined our Safari Live family. Now let's see if we can just sneak in here. Mom seems to be absolutely relaxed with us. She's in no way turned towards me. There's been no issue with her kind of facing me, ears out or anything like that. So she seems to be unperturbed, which is good. You always need to watch mom's reaction, particularly when you approach a tiny little baby. And mom is right here in the shade, just like I thought she might be. I thought she would get into this situation where there's a big jackalberry and the perfect shade for a little one. Hello, little one. Welcome to the world. How cute is that? You can see it's underneath mom. It's just working things out. A little bit of a sniff every now and then. It's trying to use its little trunk as well. You can imagine this trunk must be so foreign for a little one. If you think about us as children and as babies, we have no idea how to even walk or talk or coordinate ourselves. We rely on mom to feed us. Yet this little one, who's got more muscles in the trunk than in our entire body, is still able to move, suckle, feed, kind of bath and mud bathe, and yet it's still trying to work out the trunk as well. So it's just incredible how they're able to do all of this with so many muscles that they look for, or that they have. Absolutely unbelievable. It's so cute. Neil, the survival rate for baby Ellies is very good. What the percentage is, I'm not quite sure over the Kruger Park system, but I can tell you that it is probably in the high, I would say 80%. Very seldom do you find dead baby Ellies. The only time you get it is if there's been maybe some sort of complication with the delivery of that baby that maybe has caused an issue, or if there's been a really bad drought, you will sometimes get a situation where you do get stillborn babies. It does happen from time to time. In fact, actually yesterday there was a stillborn giraffe on Buffalo's Hook, and I'm sure it's still got to do with the sort of lack of nutrients that has been around over this last dry period. But very, very seldom do we see stillborn Ellies. It's not the most common thing. Elephants don't suffer from too many diseases. They generally are very good at finding food and water. Even in the harshest times, you'll find an elephant will be able to dig, it will be able to get roots, it will be able to get tubers, it will strip bark, leaves, grass, so it's able to still function even in the dry periods, and it will dig for water as well if water is not available. So very seldom do we see dead elephants, and then on top of that you see a situation where there's very few predators of a baby elephant. So things like jackals, hyenas, lion, leopard, these kind of things have got to get through mom, and mom is going to seriously be defensive of a tiny baby like that. I'm actually impressed at how relaxed she is with us. She's completely unperturbed. She's busy feeding, which is, as soon as you see an elephant feeding, you know that you're generally okay. When they're feeding like that, they are comfortable with your presence. You can see she actually hasn't even faced us once. She's been moving around with the little calf, and I'm sure she's enjoying the bit of shade that this jackalberry is offering. Now you see the little one is kind of constantly in and amongst her feet and around her front feet, and is watching her all the time. It's kind of checking out how is mom doing things, and that's how they learn. So it's an animal that learns a lot from its parents and learns by sight, and so it will stop and it will watch and it will play and it will use its trunk a little bit until it's able to work those kind of things out, which is super cool. But what a special way to start our day. Now, I know a lot of you are saying that it is a great birthday present, but I feel like I've been spoilt this whole week with birthday presents, and many new Scorpios in the world this week, well, especially in the natural world. Like I say, we've got Pebbles the plover, we've got our crocodile babies, we've got little Boo the hippo, who's also a November baby, and now our little Ellie, and the Impala lamb as well. So we've had lots of tiny babies that have joined me, and it is a gift. I mean, to see something like this is incredibly special, not only to see it, but also to be able to spend time in the company of an elephant mother who's so trusting of us and is allowing us these views of this little baby is incredibly special. We're very fortunate to be able to spend time with animals like this and to be able to learn from them and watch them and kind of see her as she introduces her baby to the world and to show it around. And this will all be new areas for this baby, so she's taking it along slowly just to explore, and it's going to be showing it how to live, how to survive, and those kind of things are super special. Now I'm just going to try and go forward a little bit. You see what she's doing though, as she's walking, there's a lot of debris in this section here, and that debris is very good, because what happens is things grow underneath the debris, so she can move things away and she's able to then get food. Now Romit, the baby Ellie, will start feeding on its own when it reaches anywhere between sort of, I would say, 18 months and 2 years. They start to be able to feed by themselves. They're still supplemented by mom's milk up until 2 years. That's when they start to kind of wean off it. I have seen elephants that are older still suckling from mom, particularly if she has another calf. Then you'll find that some of the older ones will try and steal milk from time to time from their mom. But generally they are able to start feeding and are fairly self-sufficient already at 2 years. So it's a long way away from now that this little baby will be feeding by itself, but time will come. Or is it going to lie down? I think it might just lie down for us. Look, it's just putting its head down to the ground. Little legs are buckling a bit. Oh, there we go. Oh no, it's just been too long a day. It's too hot. That's just so cute. Now this little one will lie like this because it is a warm day and mom is right near the termite mound. It's shady, there's a little breeze blowing here. It is the perfect place to have a little rest. And little babies, when they're walking around, you can imagine it's difficult for them. Mom, she's used to standing, she's been alive for many years, and this little one is now kind of come into this world, and it doesn't really, it's trying to keep up with mom. It's exercising, but the legs are still not that strong, and trying to keep up with one of mom's steps is like taking 10 of her own, or his own, depending if it's a little boy or a girl. I can't see, it looks like a little boy, and so it's a tough life to keep up with mom, and so every now and then you will find them sleeping. And what you will also find is that this little baby, when it sleeps like that, mom will stay very close. They'll feed very close, and she'll, I think, probably try and move quite quickly today to catch up with the herd, which I'm hoping is not too far away. She'll then kind of smell and sniff and communicate. Remember, they have incredible communication that they're able to kind of get into, to talk to each other from big distances. And so she'll catch up with the herd. Once she's with the herd, you'll find this little baby might lie down, and the whole herd will actually stop and feed in that area and give a chance for that little baby to rest. And it looks like it's trying to suckle, so it's just trying to get some of that vitally nutrient-rich milk to be able to get the strength to carry on and keep moving. Paul, no. So I honestly have never, ever heard of a case of elephant triplets, and I'll tell you why. There's just, I don't think, enough space inside of a female elephant to have a triplet situation. I do know of twins. I have seen twins myself down in the south of the Sabi Sands. 2 elephants, same age, suckling from the same mother, and her protecting those 2 and always walking with those 2. So twins has happened. It's very seldom that twins do happen, but it has happened. Things like triplets, I doubt it's even possible. Remember that these elephants are massive at birth. They are huge. Already the female is under huge stress by having one of these calves. You can imagine 2, but 3 is just probably not possible. Their stomach will, well, they're not their stomach, but their cavities will not be able to hold such a large amount, and will not be able to have enough space really to sustain that. Also, to give enough nutrients to 3 of those babies at that size would just be almost impossible. And she doesn't have enough teats for it. She's only got 2 teats, which means that if she had 3, she's going to really struggle to be able to feed all 3 of those. But I'm super surprised at how relaxed this little baby is. I mean, a plane has just come over. It's probably the first time it's ever heard the plane, and it is not running, or it's not kind of flapping its ears or anything like that. It's taking its cue from mom, who's completely relaxed, which is just wonderful. Now, I know Senza doesn't have the best view of the little one, so I'm just going to slightly reposition myself, because we'll have a nice view if I just go forward a little bit, and we can just get around this little bush. But after they go from here, then I'm going to probably not spend too much more time with them, because I don't want to go through the thickets and annoy anybody in this process. But there we go. That's a little bit better. It does look like a little male from what I can see. It looks as though it's difficult, obviously, with male elephants and female elephants at a young age, because remember, little male elephants have internal testes, so not very easy to be able to tell. But it looks like a little male, and it looks like that little umbilical cord is still attached. So it was a really good observation. It seems as though there's a small little part of it still there. How wonderful to see. Hello, little one. She must have given birth somewhere in this area, and that really explains a lot about yesterday's behavior with that herd. I remember getting back to camp last night, and I was saying it was super strange that the Ellies were so unrelaxed, and they were so kind of feisty, and they were, as I drove up, all of them were kind of huddled in small groups, and everybody was a little bit on their sort of aggressive side, or not aggressive side, but they were very showy. Their heads were up, ears were out. They didn't let me get anywhere near them. But it explains all of that behavior right now, because obviously when there's a new baby, there's a lot of communication that's going, and a lot of interesting things that are happening, and the whole herd's a bit freaked out because there'll be this new addition. There's scent of, blood and all kinds of other things. There's also noise from that female as she gives birth, and this new baby that's out, and so that unsettles the herd quite a bit. And they know then also that they have to be far more alert and far more defensive, because now there's a little baby amongst them. The opportunity for predators to come in and go at that baby is quite real. And so they've got to make sure that they protect this little one as a unit, and it's not just up to the mother. The whole herd will be very protective of this little one and make sure that it survives. And so yesterday's behavior is completely natural now, and makes so much more sense than what we saw, or than what I thought yesterday afternoon. So very cool to witness and to see that process between them. Now, I'm pretty sure this little one was born somewhere in this little vicinity, so in this drainage line area. There's nice shady spots that this mother would have had her baby, and would have had it kind of under some shady trees yesterday, or even overnight, like I said, and then she would have moved towards the water today just to rehydrate, also to introduce this little baby to water and cool it down. At the end of the day, it must be really overheating in hot weather like this. But you are just too cute, little one. I feel like you may have stolen the hearts of many out there already. It's going to be fairly easy actually to recognize this adult female as well, because she's got a missing left tusk, and she's also got a very big deep notched V out of her right ear, so we should be able to kind of recognize her. There you can see the V that I'm talking about, and that missing left tusk. Those two combination should be able to recognize her, so we should be able to keep tabs on this little one over the next little bit and see if she actually hangs around here, or if she's going to be fairly transient in her movements. Right, our little one is going to move off into the thickets. I'm not going to follow any further, but what we can do is send you all the way back to the Masai Mara with Scotty D, who I think is still driving around, and hopefully he's going to have a lot more luck than he's had over the past couple of days.
Well, we decided to put up the rain covers, as you can see, but it was at a bad time. Looked like most of the rain was behind us, but now we are getting wet. So, we're probably going to have to drop the rain covers again and continue with them down. Try and snipe out the sides. It just becomes very difficult to spot things if the flaps are down. If you've already established a sighting, then you can work with it. But searching with those flaps down is very, very tricky. So, that is our predicament. It seems like we're going to have a wet afternoon here in the Mara. Very, very exciting stuff with Tristan and that baby elephant. Sounds very, very cute, and also useful that it sounds like you'll be able to keep track of who it is because its mother's got a very distinctive notch in her ear. So, that's a great start to the safari. I think I'm going to take the river road. We've got two main options as we head out of camp into areas where we can off-road. One is the escarpment road, which follows the Olololo escarpment, which you can see over there. And the other one is via the Mara River Circuit, which is 17 kilometers long. And that will take us to a camp called Serena, where I plan on going and buying some toothpaste. They've got a staff shop there, so you can stock up on basic bits and pieces like toothpaste, deodorant. Well, it seems like elephants are the flavor of the day down in Djuma. Why don't you go and see what Noel's herd is up to?
Welcome back, everyone. We have found animals, and one of my favorites. So I was super excited about Tristan's tiny, tiny little baby elephant. We don't have any super teeny ones, but we do have some younger ones. You can see there's a big female just to the right here that's resting in the shade, trunk all the way down, eye half closed, just enjoying and keeping an eye on her family. And then panning down towards the dam, we've got a few that are feeding that way, and there's a nice sized bull. He's not very big, but on the left hand side there's a decent sized bull that's there. Beautiful breeding herd of elephants. I love elephants, and especially when it's warm like this. This is one of what I would consider a go-to animal when it's warm and you're out and you want to just sit in the shade and watch what's happening, because they're going to give you all the entertainment you need. Shin, look at that little one. That little one's gonna come down and join that older one. They practice, so they mimic each other. So whatever the older ones are eating, especially what mom's eating, then they'll practice eating. But what you'll notice as well is with the younger males, like that tiny one, they want to mimic the older males. It's like with humans, if you're a 10-year-old boy and you have a 16-year-old cousin, you want to do everything that 16-year-old cousin does. Rockstar, I believe you said, how do elephants keep cool? Elephants use their ears, they flap them to help get the heat away from their brain using the different veins and blood vessels. They also love to swim, absolutely love to swim, and they'll throw mud on themselves as well as throwing dust on themselves. How they keep themselves cool. Great question. Sorry, it's a little bit windy, but it's very warm. But the wind is feeling like a really, this sounds funny, like a really gentle caress over your face right now. It's just a perfect summer's afternoon, absolutely perfect. Chandra, did you see that little male? He's taking sticks and just throwing them around just because he can. Watch. Sorry, so I went from a very super calm moment to an absolute hysterical moment with this little male here. Or sorry, little female, excuse me. So, he's so indecisive. Do you see that? He can't really decide what he wants to do. Does he want to turn? Does he want to play? Again, very similar to human children. They'll play with each other, elephant calves, but then they'll also play by themselves. So you can only just imagine what he's thinking in his head there. He's trying to pick up, Mum's foot's in the way a little bit, but he's trying to pick up that little stick. I once watched elephants doing that with pebbles, picking them up, putting them in their mouths, and then throwing them out, and then picking them up, putting them in their mouths, throwing them out. There he's scratching himself now. So if we go down the road a bit, you can see the ones that were already drinking. So Luke, you're wondering if elephants can fend off a predator with the blow from its trunk. Look, an elephant is super strong. I'm not gonna lie. Look at them greeting. Sorry, if we have a look down the road there, Gendre, these ones have just come out of the water, and then that other one went up to greet. So with this small little herd that's pulled up and this other one to our right, there's actually another herd that's behind us as well. We're looking at about 30 elephants here, and sometimes in a scenario like this, what you're seeing herds that used to be one herd and then got too big and then split and can be related. You can also see scenarios where they're non-related, and I've watched non-related breeding herds chasing each other around dams and having quite a fight. Yes, I think there's more than 30 elephants here. Look at them all coming up. This is absolutely stunning. So, and that female that's walking up the road, straight up the road, is heavy pregnant. So Luke, look, what we're seeing now, do you see the structure of these elephants, how they're coming up in sort of a V formation, the little ones are in the middle? That's one way that they keep predators away from the little one. That trunk, yes, that trunk is very strong, their body structure is very strong, they can get rid of a predator that way, but Mother Nature is very smart and has made nothing invincible. So just because the elephants have this ability doesn't mean that they win all the time. Predators don't always win, prey don't always get away. This right now, if they keep coming up the road, is going to be really great. I just want to be quiet for a minute or two. I want to see if they'll come up nice and close to us. Absolute magic. So those Ellies were 3 meters, about 6 foot from Gendre and I. And did you notice when they came up, they stopped, they smelled a little bit. That one, the youngster was very relaxed, so he nursed from his mum. And then they decided to carry on. Our wind's coming a bit from behind us, so they could smell us and hear us long down the road, but they're just checking. That young elephant you heard just before they came up to the vehicle was in the breeding herd that's behind us that we haven't viewed yet. Their tummy rumbling. And remember, just because we can hear those sounds doesn't mean that those sounds are the only ones they make. They're communicating the entire time through infrasound through their feet, which can travel up to 60 kilometers, 60. And the ones that we hear is just a small subsector. You know, like whale song, and they catalog all that whale song. They're also busy doing it with elephants. So we get asked every now and then about special moments and what's your special moments. Anytime elephants do this is a very special moment. And then Tristan has again another special moment with elephants, with that tiny little baby. So we'd like to send you back over to him so you can enjoy it as well. Very, very, very cool.
It is the most coolest thing you could ever possibly see, and it's very cool now because we've got 3 different species in a row. So you got the waterbuck in front, the impalas, and then Yeli and its baby, and it gives you an idea of just how small this baby is. It's unfortunately drifted a bit, but you can see it's just over the back and it's smaller than that male impala, so that'll give you an idea of just how little our baby elephant is. It's still in a fairly open section, so I'm going to still try and keep up with it a little bit. So I'm just going to go around all the grazing animals because I don't want to disturb them either. So we're just going to head round a little bit and just use this nice open clearing to be able to see her for a little bit longer as she kind of drifts. The rest of the herd's tracks is going in this direction, so I wouldn't be surprised that that herd that Noel has might even be the herd for this female and her young one. So maybe, just maybe, if Noel stays with that herd, these guys, well, these two might catch up towards the end of the afternoon and rejoin. It would be something absolutely incredible if you can follow this female all the way until she rejoins with the herd, because the greeting and the vocalizing and the talking that's going to happen between these Ellies when they come together finally after being apart and this new addition to the herd is just going to be absolutely insane. You'll find that they'll all come in, they're all going to investigate this little one. It's like a new baby in a human family. Everybody wants to come and say hello, everybody wants to make a bit of a fuss about it, and the same thing will happen with this little one. So it's going to be so interesting to follow, and if we can try and get all the way to where that herd is, it would be quite something. Now, just going to try and just sneak in here to where it's shady, because I think Mom is going to stop in the shade again for a bit. She seems to kind of cross through these sort of more open areas quite fast, and then as soon as it gets shady she starts to relax again and starts to feed. And I think she knows that the little one just can't move too far. But look, they're going to come right past us now. That's very cute. Chitty Chatty Meg, how long does an elephant labor last? Longer than most women would like to hear, but 22 months is how long that she's pregnant for, and then her labor, well, her labor can be all the way through a night. Did you hear that? That is amazing. So she's talking, she's trying to probably contact the rest of the herd. So you see, look, her ears are out. So she's using her ears not only because they're big to try and control temperature, but also has satellite discs to be able to hear. So she's pushing those ears out. She's communicating like that, hoping that the rest of the herd communicates back to her. Those big ears trap all those sound waves, funnel it into the ear, and she can hear a lot better. So that is really absolutely incredible to hear and to see. And so she stops now she's going to start moving off. She'll also have sensory cells in her feet and her trunk that would have picked up vibration from the low frequency sound that would have been produced if the rest of the herd responded, and that way she'll then know. And the way that she's now feeding, I think she's content to know that the herd is maybe not too far away. We might not have heard it, but she might have picked up that, okay, they're somewhere close by. It's within touching distance. I don't have to stress too much. I can still feed and stay in this area. Absolutely incredible. And that sound right there is one of my absolute favorite sounds in the whole bush. I love lions roaring. I love hearing a lot of the other animals, but that just sends these kind of goosebumps, and I get my hairs stand on end whenever I hear elephants making that sound. There's just something about it that is just unbelievable, and it's this loud, deep kind of grumble that comes out of their lungs. Absolutely phenomenal, and it really makes me happy when I hear that. And I was talking about their labor. Now, their labor can last for quite some time. You can imagine pushing out a, almost 150-pound baby is not exactly that pleasant, or 200-pound baby, should I say, is not exactly that pleasant. And so it does take them, in the experience that I've had and I've seen an elephant give birth, which is probably one of the most amazing things that I've seen, that that particular elephant was in labor for, she must have been about 3 hours that she was in labor, with the little one starting to dilate and starting to come out. But it can go much longer than that. I've heard of elephants that are going to start dilating around sunset, and only the following morning is the little one born. So it does take some time, and you can imagine how much distress this female must go through in order to have this little one. At the end of the day, like I said, it's not a small object and it's not a small baby, so she has to really kind of push it out, and there's a lot of sort of trauma that happens and a lot of discomfort, and so it's a very vocal process, and it's a very kind of uncomfortable process, and that's why the whole herd, you'll find, becomes a little bit stressed out during a birth of a little one. But it is just the most special thing to watch that little one go. Where they're going now is starting to get too thick. I don't want to hit trees. She's been so accommodating of us, allowing us these beautiful views of her little baby as it's walked past us. So I think we're going to take our sort of leave, and we're going to leave now and let her carry on with her afternoon. Hopefully this little one will join up with Noel's herd or somewhere in that general vicinity. I am going to meander down towards Twin Dams, and she is heading down that direction, so maybe we get lucky with her coming out that side. But I just really don't want to be bashing trees behind a little baby. Like I say, we've been so fortunate with the way Mom has treated us already. Let's not overstay our welcome and cause any undue stress in an already kind of hot afternoon. Paula, you're wondering how much sleep an elephant needs. Well, you know, it's dependent on how old they are. The little babies tend to sleep a lot more than the adults. Most elephants will only sleep for sort of 4 or 5 hours a day maximum, and that's broken up into short little shifts of 10 to 15 minutes of sleep throughout the day. You'll find that they'll kind of go and they'll put their head up, in the case of a big adult male, up against a tree, or lie down on a termite mound or on the kind of bank of a river, and they'll sort of have a little 10, 15, maybe even 20-minute nap in those areas, particularly on a hot day like today. And you'll find that they'll have a situation where they'll kind of enjoy that, and then they move off again, and then later in the day again and again and again, and they repeat this process. So they don't actually sleep too much, and not long stints of sleep. The problem with them and why they can't sleep for long stints is because they have a situation where they need to feed a lot more. There's a big bulk, they need to process all this food, and so they have a situation where they do need to feed constantly, and sleeping for 6-7 hours like we do as people means that they don't really have the chance. So just saying hello to Tax. So he's going to try and just quickly loop around and see if he can get a glimpse of it. You can imagine being here for your first time in Africa. You've just arrived and you get to see that as one of your first sightings. Absolutely amazing. So those people are in for an absolute treat and are about to be very spoiled by a tiny little cute baby. And also with a baby elephant like that, if Tax is adjoining, it doesn't make sense to pressure her with 2 vehicles. We'll rather just let one vehicle follow her around and enjoy. Right, Senzo, you ready for your time lapse? No, you're not ready. But Senzo, everyone wants to see what you're wearing today, because now Senzo is just shaking his head at me. He says no, he doesn't want to be seen today. So because Senzo doesn't want to be seen today, we have somebody else who is up and moving and mobile, much like our elephant mom, and that is Scotty D. And hopefully he doesn't have a little baby following him around, because that will just be a little awkward. But let's see where he's off to and what he's up to, and whether or not he's got any plans for the rest of the afternoon.
Hello, welcome back. Happy to hear you've been enjoying the elephants, I think, with Tristan, I think. We have been putting the flaps up and down. Most recently they have gone up. So it's preventing us from covering as much ground as we would like. Bit of slow going. There's a whole bunch of waterbuck up ahead of us that are looking very, very intently at something. Who knows what it could be. Even there's a topi close to us that's just let off 1 or 2 snorts. So I'm going to use my binocular machine to scan ahead of where they're looking. Interesting, even the crowned cranes are alarm calling. Wow! Wow! What is it that's getting them worked up? Okay, well, we're going to try and work out what is causing the commotion here, and while we do that, we are going to send you to a herd of elephants who are approaching a waterhole.
Welcome back, everybody. So we were talking about how many elephants we were seeing. So this isn't everything. The herd that drank before and came up past the vehicle is carried on, but now you can actually see the sheer numbers that we're talking about, minus about 12. And how stunning is this? And again, look, adult females, we did this yesterday as well. We had that small herd that came down to Djuma Dam. Now we're at Chitwa Dam, but big female in front, all the youngsters in the middle, and then some of the adults taking up the rear as well. Absolutely stunning. They're chasing the water buck away on the right hand side. The big female's going down and she's going to go to the exact spot where those water buck were, because then she knows that's clean water. She's like, get out, go away. Elephants are bullies. Big elephants pick on little elephants, so little elephants then pick on anything smaller than them, and they definitely want their resources to themselves. They don't want to share their resources at all. I quickly want to pan over to the left. We have two young bulls who are busy swimming near the hippos just over here. We talked about it about 10 minutes ago, how elephants love to swim, and it's a really warm day, and there they are, dunking each other, pushing each other around, really getting under. They roll all the way over. Sometimes it's just their little trunks that you see. And again, just like humans, I remember as a kid swimming in the lakes and roughhousing with my brothers and sisters and our cousins, dunking each other, throwing each other in the air. I wouldn't say elephants throw each other in the air, but they have similar patterns as we do. Watch, watch, watch. And there's a hippo gaping just in front of them, basically showing his annoyance at those two males. They really couldn't care less. So again, just like as I know today, if there weren't crocodiles in here, I would be swimming and jumping in this water as well. It's very, very warm. The wind's actually taking away a bit of the bite of the heat at the moment, but for them, that's a big animal. It's a lot of surface area to have to heat and to cool, and on a day like this, cooling it down takes swimming in the dam to really get the body core temperature down. Oh, viewers, I'm also loving this. Absolutely loving this. David, you're wondering if crocodiles will try with a young elephant. Crocodiles will try with anything that comes into the water. So what you'll see with crocs, specifically with elephants, is they're going to go for the trunk. So when an elephant goes down to drink, or anything, say an impala, that ripple, that disturbance of the texture of the water, a crocodile can sense that up to about 100 meters. So they'll come. I've encountered several elephants missing parts of trunks that a crocodile got. I've encountered small ones. I've also encountered adults with that. Now, a young one swimming many years ago, I was at a reserve and we were watching huge herds of elephants come down to the really large water hole, and there was a teeny tiny baby that was swimming. It was really interesting. The matriarch and the second in command were busy fending off crocodiles. They were chasing them away that was trying to come and get this tiny baby elephant, similar in size to probably to the one that Tristan's been seeing. So they were actively guarding because they knew it was going to be harder for that size crocodile to get to them in any way. But even though the amount of splashing that these two males in particular are creating for a crocodile look is really different. I know we've been doing some really amazing segments up in the Mara where the thrashing of the other crocs, getting something like a wildebeest, is attracting more crocodiles. But here, because our crocodile numbers are lower, something like this isn't necessarily going to attract them for eating. They might get curious and come up and look, but one croc, especially the size of that female that we have been seeing here with Tristan with the babies, she's not going to be able to do much with these two in the water like this. Welcome, Facebook viewers. Welcome to Safari Live. We have some bull elephants busy swimming and playing in the water. It's a very hot day. Again, we are live. This is interactive. You can ask us questions, send them through. That one's decided that he's had enough. He's just going to drink some water. And the other one's like, please play with me. Please play with me. So we've been discussing how elephants cool themselves down and how they, on a hot day like today, it is necessary for the core body temperature for them to really get into the water. Now, we really don't have much sorry much in the way of understanding how playful they are. From a human perspective, we can really put it in terms of us, and I haven't seen anything that's changed my mind without anthropomorphizing too much. They have fun. So not only are they cooling their core body temperature down, but they're just having fun. And especially when it's young males like this, they don't have a care in the world. There he goes under again. You saw his little feet kick up there. There's his trunk. The other one's gonna jump on him and push him down a little bit. Proud Cat Mama, you're asking if Ellies can use their trunk as a snorkel. Great question. They can. So you'll see a lot of the times, especially when they're going, he just did it now, when they're going under the water like that, they're just taking a breath, going down, and then if they stay down too long, they'll stick up their trunk. I've also seen with river crossings in different parts of Africa with elephants going across the water, especially the little ones, they stick their little trunk up like that to catch air. Yeah, Ricci, I would also say one of my favorite sightings. This is a type of sighting, no matter how many times you see it, it's always different, it's always fun. It never gets old. You just want to sit here the whole time. You almost want to join them. Although you'd probably be smushed, to be honest with you. Nick, I think you're asking how much water they need to drink every day? Oh, how long they'll stay in the water. Excuse me, Nick. How long they'll stay in the water each and every day. Look, Nick, sometimes they swim in the day. I've seen elephants swim 3 times in a day, depending on the heat, and sometimes they don't swim at all. Sometimes they just come and drink and then carry on. Sometimes they'll come... Sometimes they'll come, drink, play in the mud, and also swim. Every day is different. It's very similar to us. You might, for instance, have a shower one day that lasts a half an hour, or one day you might just have a very quick, or you might have a bath one day. Every day you're gonna change it up, and for them as well. There's the little snorkel we were talking about. So part of what's happening now is not only are they playing, but there's a little bit of dominant submissive behavior that's going on. So female members of species will do this, but male members of species do this often, especially when they're growing up and when their testosterone's really starting to kick in. They'll mount each other. The one that's trying to show the dominance will mount the one they're trying to get to be submissive. So the smaller of the two is taking advantage of the fact that the bigger one is getting under the water, and he's doing a bit of mounting. The bigger one's not really having much of that. He's asserting himself fine. So there's play, definitely, as we talked about, but there's a bit of a funny little undertone. And remember as well, this play that we're watching is also play that will serve them when they're adults, when they get older. They're building up muscles that they need when they're big male elephants, and also learning how to sort themselves out in I guess you could say hierarchy. Male elephants aren't always together, but they are sometimes together. So sometimes they'll fight to the death when they're older, and sometimes they just need a little whack here and there to sort out who's who at the water hole. Our breeding herd has moved away. I just want to pull forward a little bit onto the other side of the dam wall. I think we're going to have to wait just a little while to do that. The light's still good. I just don't want to get Chitwa has been amazing and lets us come and view at their dam, but we've also got some of their guests that are on the other side of the dam wall, and I just don't want to get in their way. But the elephants are moving again, so we should be fine. So Richie, I think you're asking if other elephants come down, will they also join in? Oh, will the hippopotamus join in, Richie? So those hippos are super annoyed that those elephants are there. They are not happy about this situation. They've clustered together. There was a little bit of gaping earlier to explain that they're not happy. I've actually seen male hippo, very territorial male hippo, when elephants come and sit like this, grunt. They do that hippo noise that I don't imitate very well, and sort of thrash around. And I've watched a male elephant just throw water at them. They don't like each other overtly much. It's not. They're annoyed more than anything. Oh, swim time is over. I once had a question about color of elephants, and we saw dark elephants like this as opposed to the lighter one, and again it's just the change in color from the water. So Facebook viewers, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that wonderful action of swimming elephants. I know that we enjoyed it very much, as you could tell by the giggling and the laughing. You guys must have a great day. Hi. Okay, and they're off. They're gone. They're gonna go follow the breeding herd has moved away. I don't know if we can focus down there at the inflow of the dam, but they've gone. They don't want to swim. They're over it. They had their drink. They're carrying on. And these males have had their fun, and they've also realized that all the females have gone away. So they're not really part of the breeding herds anymore. They've been kicked out. They're kicked out usually around 15 to 18, right around in there. So look, the smaller of the two might still be connected, but honestly they're at that point where they need to be on their own. That separation period is not quick. It takes a while, and it can be a bit traumatic to say the least. So they'll follow closely behind, but not too closely behind to bother the herd, but just enough where they still feel like they have other elephants around. And then eventually they'll get old enough where they won't need the breeding herd unless they feel like mating, or unless there's very small water sources and they all have to share. All right, we're gonna head back towards Tristan, also with elephants. We're just having an elephant afternoon. I know he had that cute little baby earlier, and let's see what he has in store for us now.
Well, now I've got a very big, very large bull elephant. So what that little baby will be in 30-40 years time will be this massive gentle giant that we have here. And it really is, like Noel says, an elephant-filled, elephant-fantastic afternoon. It is absolutely amazing. From no elephants to elephants everywhere. It's the best thing. I love having Ellies back on the area. They are one of the most entertaining, incredible creatures, and Noel's been absolutely spoilt that on her first kind of afternoon on Chitwa, she's had the Ellies swimming at the dam, so she's really been spoilt with that. It's one of my favorite things to watch at Chitwa Dam is the Ellies swimming, and so I'm so glad that she got to see that. It's very cool. Now this big boy has just had a little drink at Twin Dams. He's having a little kind of slow walk around now and is feeding on various plants and various vegetation that is around here. After drinking, you often find this from elephants, is that they will immediately start feeding. If you look at him though, even though he's drank here at Treehouse Dam, Twin Dams, I thought he might have a little swim, but he's swam somewhere already. His skin is crusted with mud at the moment. He's had a really good bathe wherever he's been, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was maybe at Baboon Pan or just south of us, where he had a really good wallow and has sorted things himself out and cooled himself down from there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to change direction slightly, because Senzo's got a big tree that he's going to walk into, and so I just want to try and reposition myself slightly so that Senzo has got a better angle on all of this. Gary, I've never seen an elephant develop skin problems if they don't get to swim. What they can get though is that they can get serious problems with their ears if they don't constantly use mud. So as babies, they can actually get severely sunburnt. It's the reason why they need to be under their moms and get their ears and things used to the sun. If you go and you see a little baby like the one we saw this afternoon, it was a bit difficult because it was covered in water and mud, but that little baby has very, very pink, very sensitive ears, and it takes a bit of time to get used to this harsh African heat, and so they pack it with mud, and that will keep it all kind of healthy. But in terms of the actual skin itself, all that's going to happen is that they're going to be very dehydrated if they don't constantly spray water on them. Their skin is very absorbent and very porous, and it will actually absorb moisture into the skin, and that's why when you find an elephant throwing water on itself, if you look on his head area and various other parts, there's little darker sections, that's where water has gone onto his head and is actually being soaked in by that skin. It's not running off like it does on our skin, where it kind of just runs off and it goes. With an elephant, it actually soaks in and will become part of hydrating that skin mass, and all those folds that you see there are not because the skin is dry and cracked. That's all to increase surface area and to help with the transpiring of heat, and to get heat out. The bigger the surface area of the skin, the more pores there are, the more they're able to deal with the African heat. So it's a very clever way of doing things. Now I'm pretty sure he's going to just feed his way along towards us here. What I might do is just back up slightly, depending on which direction he goes. He might go behind me, but if he comes in front, just because there's not very much space here, I might just move out the way of him a little bit. But for now it looks as though he might kind of go behind us. But he is such a gentle individual. We were down at the dam with him when he was drinking, and he came walking past us, not a single fluff of the ears, not a single sort of kind of lift of his head, nothing like that. He literally came past, investigated us by putting his trunk up, smelt a little bit, and then meandered off and started feeding. So he's one of those individuals that you sometimes get here. We are fortunate in the Kruger that we get a lot of elephants that are incredibly relaxed due to the fact that there's very little poaching pressure, and he's one of those individuals. These bulls are just some of the best bulls to spend time around. Now, sorry, Kirst, if you can just repeat that. I didn't quite get the question. Ah, sorry, Paula, there we go. So I heard can elephants, but I didn't get the rest. But you said climb things. So elephants, not really, no. So they're not animals that are able to jump, and most climbing takes some sort of force of jumping to get up. I have seen elephants climbing over things, which is kind of using their feet to go over barriers and logs and those kind of things, and then climbing over it like that, but not actually climbing up things. So you'll never find an elephant up in a tree or walking over a tree. You will find them going up quite steep banks, though. I have seen them climbing up very steep banks and up mountainsides and hills. In fact, elephants have even been seen on the slopes of Kilimanjaro, which is one of the is the highest mountain in Africa, and so you will find them going up onto those slopes there. So they can climb quite steep gradients, but definitely cannot climb trees or even logs or fallen over trees. At the end of the day, they weigh such a lot that there's not many trees that can support their weight, so it seems like a futile idea in order for them to climb. Also, they're incredibly tall animals, so they've got a great field of view already, and they've got an ability to cool themselves down, so climbing into a tree is not really necessary from that point of view, and there's very little that hunts them out here, so they don't need to go up into trees for protection or to be able to try and defend themselves. So ultimately there's no real reason for them to climb. At the end of the day, they can rock onto their back legs if they can't reach branches that they want. Also, that trunk is able to extend a lot more than what we see it when they're at a relaxed position, and they can reach branches and leaves and all kinds of other things above their heads and be able to pull that down and get to it. So no real reason for an Ellie to be able to climb anywhere. But he's slowly but surely absolutely dismantling an acacia that is behind this tree that we're seeing, so it's difficult to see what he's actually eating, but it looks like a small knobthorn that might be behind there that is being destroyed at this point. Now, I was hoping that he might move, and I'm worried that if I reverse he will move this way, so I'm just going to be patient. I'm pretty sure once he's destroyed that knobthorn, he'll move to this knobthorn closest to us. Robert, you're wondering if elephants consume poisonous plants. Well, they do have an ability to eat things that us as humans would consider poisonous. A lot of animals can. So if you think of something like a tamboti that Noel maybe showed you this morning, I don't know if you guys were watching, but Noel did discuss a tamboti this morning. And tambotis are plants that for us as people are highly toxic. We can't eat that, but yet kudu, giraffe, impalas, nyala, elephants, they're able to deal with that and be able to consume it, and it's probably because also the increased amount of blood in an animal like an elephant. Remember, an elephant has got over 350 liters of blood if you look at a big bull like this, and so he's going to be able to digest and synthesize those protein or those toxins a lot better than what we would as people. So yes, they can feed off certain poisonous plants, but for the most part they actually eat pretty similar to what we would. There's a few plants that they can tolerate, but most of what they eat is not toxic to us. I mean, things like a knobthorn leaf or a buffalo thorn or the figs, the marulas, I mean, these are all things that we can consume. Even torchwood fruits, all of those things are stuff that we also eat. And so pretty much there's not too many plants, but the ones that they do eat that are fairly toxic are plants that are helping to clean out their digestive tract, and it acts basically as a natural sort of laxative to them. It just kind of gets rid of stuff that they're battling to digest. You see it, like I say, you see it in a lot of the animals. They'll constantly feed off those tambotis to try and just do that at certain times of the year. Right, well, our Ellie is having a really good feed on his knobthorn. I think he might be there for a little bit of time, but ultimately this knobthorn will be impressive in that it will release tannins, which will make those leaves a little bit bitter, and he will then move off a little bit later. But while he's feeding and just taking it very easy and giving us a little eye over the top of the bush, I believe Noel is sitting at Chitwa Dam in the beautiful view of the hippos that are lurking in the water.
So we have hippo, but then as we're sitting here with the hippo, while you guys were with Tristan and his wonderful elephants, we found a sandpiper, and I got super, I'm still excited about the sandpiper, but I got super excited because I thought it was a green sandpiper for a second, but it is in fact a wood sandpiper. You'll notice that white eye. Oh, very cool. Thank you for posing for us. That white stripe over the eye. So I have not seen a green sandpiper this year, and we are coming to a close on 2017. I need to see that green sandpiper, tick it off for my bird list for the year. I'm only at 300 birds for the year, and I really want to push that up closer to 400 in the next couple of months. You can see probing down in there, trying to get at little bits of little insects, and also notice the yellow color to the legs. And then if you want to see what I was looking for before, so we've got the wood sandpiper that's here, okay? There's the eyebrow stripes on the chest. There's no white on the shoulder, so it can't be a common. And then the green is down here. Notice that the stripe stops at the eye there. It's similar patterns on the wing. This one's also just a titch shorter. So I'm going to keep looking for my green. There's the common just here, and you can see that little bit of white on the shoulder and a little bit more white on the eye. Beautiful. All right, now I know you all love the baby hippos. So we have hippos, and there are some babies along with the adults. Got a little bit of a gape. So just for you viewers, baby hippos. Now because of the wind, they're not coming up as much as normal, but to the right of that dead leadwood tree, there's a baby that's resting on a mum. Now I've seen 3 babies so far just now. 2 of them look super tiny and one a little bit older. But because they're not showing themselves enough, I can't tell you whether or not this is the baby hippo that you found with Tristan on, I almost said on New Year's Eve, but what I mean is Halloween. But it is very common for them to sit on their mom's backs like this. Hippos don't necessarily swim. They walk and bounce on the bottom of the water. Although that being said, when I was just up in South Luangwa National Park in Zambia, we were talking about a flood that happened in 2007, I want to say. And it was a hectic flood. All of the camps, the village of Mfuyu was all underwater. And a guide that I was working up with just now, who was also a guide at that point, said he actually saw hippos swimming in that current. So I think there's a lot that we don't know about these creatures. I think because they do X, Y, and Z 99.9% of the time, when it does come to something odd like them swimming in a current, in a flood, we don't have as much information, because I don't know what researcher is going to go out into a river, infested river, in the middle of a flood and do some hippo research. Oh, you're already there, Jandre. You totally read my mind. There's two of the little babies I was talking about now. So other than that small one, having a little play date, sniffing each other, roughly the same age. So hippos mate underwater, they nurse underwater, and they give birth underwater. They're almost fully aquatic. They just come out for eating, as we know. Riti, you're asking if hippo babies are attacked by predators, and yes, 100%, they definitely are. I've seen spotted hyena take out hippo babies. I've seen crocodiles try and take out hippo babies. I have seen male hippos kill and eat hippo babies. So that's not predation, but there's this definite aggressive display there. I've seen leopard try for hippo. Oh, we saw it with Tristan the other night. I believe it was Hassana, but I can stand corrected on that. You all would know better than I would. Trying for that hippo baby definitely happens. Yeah, so that was Hassana. Lions will try, but I've also seen spotted hyena take down larger hippo. I've seen lions take down larger hippo. I've seen elephants try and tusk a large hippo. They had a little bit of a spat on land. I've actually seen an elephant kill a rhino, now that I'm thinking about that, tusking it, fighting over a food source on a really dry winter season. So yeah, so it's not just predators, it's also other herbivores and aggressive displays that will interact with each other, and hippo for sure. But I've also seen hippo, actually when I worked up in the Mara, I've seen hippo chasing crocodiles away from prey they're trying to catch, and then I've also seen a hippo steal a zebra foal that a crocodile had caught and then eat it for himself. There's a lot of crazy things you see out here. So it's not just the hippo babies. I know I went on a tangent there. It's not just the hippo babies, but also hippo adults that can be preyed upon. And then the interactions between their own species and different species that we would normally think might be docile or not interactive or combative because they're herbivores. It still amounts to some interesting scenarios. Snazzy, you're wondering what happens if hippos can't touch the bottom of the dam. So where they're lying right now, they can touch. That's how they're resting. If they can't, oh sorry, just listen. What they'll do is they'll just walk on the bottom, and then when they need a breath, they push up. In the Okavango Delta, when the floodwaters come down from the rains in Angola on the mountains there, and they come and they flood that giant marsh, the floodplain, the hippos are the ones that help build the pathways between the islands that the boats use to traverse from island to island, and that's by walking and running along the bottom. They also kick up the silt and mix the nutrients. So Scotty D, whose birthday was yesterday, and who seems to be out and about in a fixed vehicle, is up in the Mara and has a wonderful bird to show us. So we are going to head up north and see what we can see up there.
Wonderful stuff. Sounds like you've been having a great time with both Noel and Tristan. We have found an ostrich, and I'm wondering to myself if he's been lucky enough to find any girlfriends. It's that time of the year for ostriches. They are beginning to nest, and maybe what's happening is that he's left the female to incubate the nest while he get some food, because it's the men that do the incubation at night and the females during the day. So maybe that's what's going on, or maybe he's just not lucky enough to get himself, or to have got himself a girlfriend or two this summer. With such bizarre birds, I was actually just doing some research, and they interestingly have the largest egg of all birds, but it's the smallest relative to their body size, or one of the smallest relative to their body size. So chickens and most other birds, I guess, will lay larger eggs comparative to their body size than an ostrich, which I found quite interesting. Looks like it may have spotted something there. Let's give it a moment or two. I'm told they have very, very good eyesight. Oh, Philip, that's terrible news. You haven't seen any female ostriches on our drives yet. We have seen quite a number, and quite often they are actually together. More often than not, you'll see a male and several females together, his harem of ladies. And there's actually a large flock of about 12 ladies that hang out on the other side of the river that I've been lucky enough to see on a number of occasions. So be patient, and I'm sure you'll get to see a female soon. They are quite drab compared to the males. They have a uniform grey feathering, unlike the males' black and white. So maybe even this afternoon we might be able to find you some, or maybe his girlfriend, if he does have one, will poke her head up. It would be so, so wonderful to be able to find an ostrich nest and monitor it, because to see tiny little ostrich chicks would be extremely, extremely cute. Hello, I didn't do it. You would like to know if ostriches molt their feathers. And yes, they will, but I don't think they're going to have a full feather molt. I think it's just more of an ongoing process, as opposed to some animals that will have molts between seasons. One of the birds I can think of that does a full feather molt is the female hornbills that often nest in cavities in trees, and while they're in there incubating the eggs, they go through a full feather molt. But I'm guessing that's not going to be able to be possible for ostriches, because they don't nest in cavities and they'd be running around in the nude. So I think it's more of just a gradual ongoing process, which I'd guess is the same for most birds actually. Well, thankfully we've been dry for quite some time now, and let's hope it stays that way. There is still a little bit of rain in the area, but whether it comes towards us or misses us, only time will tell. I just heard a strange noise. I don't know what it was. Did you hear that, Mano? Like a... It was Manu's stomach. That's hilarious. I thought we were in for some kind of an action, but alas, no. Thanks for owning up. Do you know that the word for... there's an actual word for when your stomach makes a rumbling noise, and it's called borborygmy, or borborigamous action. You can use either. Funky word you developed just to describe stomach noises. Thanks, Dad, for teaching me that. Wonderful. We're going to head off. I'm getting close to my toothpaste deal that I'm going to try and hustle at Serena, at one of the staff camps, running low on toothpaste. So I'm going to go and do that and send you off to Noel with a crocodilian.
Thank you, Scotty D. I hope your ostrich was amazing. All right, we were talking about crocs and do crocs like hippos. This croc is not going after any hippos, but this croc is doing something very, very interesting. And I wonder if maybe some of our viewers who have been watching for a long time, or maybe some of our new viewers, have any idea what's up. Send your comments on Twitter, #SafariLive, or on YouTube chat. I'll be interested to see if you know what's potting here. And then let's just wrap a little bit about crocodiles. Crocodiles are super interesting. So something that's to be aware with crocs is it takes them many years to get large. And I know Scott was talking about digestion with ostrich. So crocodiles also do something interesting where they swallow stones to help digest the meats that they're eating, because they can't chew, they swallow whole pieces. Those stones in traditional culture in many African countries are considered to have really strong muti, which is magic or medicine, and so a lot of very large crocodiles are killed for those special stones. There's other parts of their body they use as well to be used in traditional medicine. So with a large croc that can live 100, 150 years, taking those genes out of the gene pool can be tricky for the ecosystem. And also large crocs play a very important role. So this croc that we're looking at is a big croc, but is by no means an extremely large crocodile. The crocs that we're seeing up in the Mara are going to be twice the size of this croc here, lengthwise, and width is also going to be a lot larger. So the smaller the croc, the smaller the prey it eats. The larger the croc, the larger the prey it eats. So they're feeding different feeding habits within the same ecosystem. So you can have really large crocs that are in with very small crocs, and they don't have to necessarily combat each other for a food source. It's called food partitioning. It's just a little side note, your interesting fact for the day. Well, I hope you get more than one interesting fact today, with the three of us out and about showing you what we can see. Lara, you say the croc is soaking up the sun. Indeed, that is part of what this crocodile is doing. So they are ectothermic. The correct term is poikilothermic. So they need outside heat to regulate their temperature. So if they are cold and they want to get warm, they have to move either upside along something warm like a rock that's been in the sun, or lay in the sun. And if they want to cool down, then they need to submerge their body into something that is cooler, and that's how they regulate their temperature. So that's part of what this crocodile is doing. But what I really want everyone to notice, and as we pan back around, you're going to notice that the mouth is open. So another way for the crocodile to either warm up or cool down is to open its mouth, and there's a little flap that you're seeing called a gular flap. Okay, so basically this crocodile is too hot, it's facing away from the sun, opening its mouth to release heat. If it was cold, it would be facing towards the sun to, I want to say, ingest heat. Ingest not the right word, but for all better purposes right now, that is what she's up to. And I say she not because it's super easy to say if this is male or female, although the females tend to be larger in size, but we've been having great sightings with Tristan with that female with the little hatchlings that are on the other side of the dam, and so I am making an assumption that this is her, although it could be a different croc. Oh shame, the little baby hippos are playing at the bottom of the dead leadwood tree. Side note. A lot of their communication is under the water. Again, similar to whales. So whales and hippos, as you guys know, I know Steph talked about this a few weeks ago, are in the same order. They're in the order Whippomorphia. So a lot of the behaviors are similar. Oh, shame. And again, being playful. So playful, and also learning to use their skills and to hone their muscles from when they're adults, and they need it for non-playful situations, for more dire situations. We've had an interesting scenario this afternoon where we had lots of elephants come and drink. The elephants were swimming, the hippos were here, that croc's over there, and everything is within its little niche and not interacting adversely, but just sort of occupying its own little space. A very calm afternoon. There's good vibes today. Okay, we're going to carry on over the dam wall. Hosanna has gone south into Little Gowrie. I'm not sure if Tristan updated you. And the male lion that we were looking for this morning on foot has gone north into Biffleshoek. So we're going to see if we can go find our own cat. Jeandre and I were chatting about wanting to see wild dogs. That would be fantastic. So Tristan's driving around. Let's see what he has in store for us.
I am driving around. I am absolutely loving my afternoon, just bumbling in this beautiful conditions. It really is such a wonderful afternoon. Conditions are perfect for an afternoon safari, especially now the temperature is really getting to that optimal kind of temperature for animals to start moving around. So we're still around Twin Dams. I've had lots of grey go-away birds calling, lots of squirrels alarm calling. Can't find any tracks for Hosanna coming back north just yet, but I'm looking around just in case he did head in this direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of loop and go up a bit and then come down the Mulawati back towards Twin Dams, because I have this funny feeling that Hosanna is here, but with that bull elephant drinking, might have just gone and lay in some shade in a little thicket where I can't see him just yet, and then with the sun kind of going down, he might meander towards Twin Dams itself, and we'll get him around sunset. So that's the plan, at least. Hopefully it will be a successful plan. I think it will be. There's enough birds and animals and things alarm calling that he could be in that vicinity. Also, we know this morning that he wasn't too far south of the boundary. He was kind of flirting with the edge, and he was going up and down, and he did go north and south, and so it's going to be interesting. Maybe he's gone further south, I don't know. The guys in the south say to me they can't find any sign of him, and so I'm not 100% sure whether he has crossed north. I certainly haven't found any tracks though that would indicate he is on our side, but maybe this afternoon he will come over towards Twin Dams and we'll find him on that dam wall just at that perfect time. And I would say an hour's time, that's what I'm going to call it. In 1 hour we're going to have Hosanna somewhere around Twin Dams. It's a big call, but a call that I feel like we should make nonetheless. Pokemon guy, yes, we have seen a chameleon on Djuma. I saw one about a week ago, actually not very far from where I am right now, just on the other side of this drainage line. So there has been one seen this summer already. I know Byron had a winter chameleon, which was very cool, and so I would imagine that maybe, just maybe, more of them will come out. Heat like what we're having now will definitely be a driving force for chameleons to come out. Now, two of my favorite birds of prey are actually sitting perfectly placed on a beautiful dead tree. In fact, three of them, which is quite nice. So I'm going to stop fairly shortly, because I'm hoping these guys, who are generally fairly relaxed with us, will actually stay where they are, because the light is beautiful on these three at the moment, and they are sitting right out in the open. It's really a beautiful sighting, and they are the three Battalier eagles that we get in this area. They nest not too far away from where we are, in fact just behind me a little bit, and they'll often see them perched on these dead trees in this section, or gliding through the air with that beautiful white and black wing that they've got. But when they are perched is really when they come into their own. You can see they've got this beautiful red face, there's jet black wings with a bit of grey and rusty red on the back, and then those red legs. They are wonderfully pretty carnivores, and they are some of the most incredible raptors that we have out here. Now, it is a male and a female that is sitting there, male closest to us, female at the back, and so we can tell that because of the wings. It's difficult for you guys to see the female at the back there, but I will be able to show you in the book just now. And then the one off to the left, I can't see very nicely, but it looks like the male on the back there as well. So it looks like a second male. Now, that could be offspring from this individual. I highly doubt it is a mating sort of situation where another male is there, because it's all far too tolerant, and these three are seen together so often that it must be a chick. The interesting thing about that though is that that chick is already fully fledged and is in its adult plumage, which takes 7 years to get there. So I'm surprised that the breeding pair is tolerant of that individual and that there isn't more competition over it. I wonder if maybe it's going to get chased out fairly soon and be pushed off on its own, but it definitely looks like another male that is sitting there, and everything is fairly peaceful at this stage. Now, to see one of these guys in a dead tree like this is special. To see two of them is even better, and three, well, that's just fantastic, particularly on an afternoon like this where we've got a lot of sort of thermals that will be around. I'm surprised that these three are not flying around and moving and actually getting themselves out and about searching for food. Richie, you're asking if all eagles have feathers on their legs. So all true eagles do. There are certain eagle species out here that don't. So the things like the snake eagles, which are not considered true eagles, they do not have feathers on their legs at all. They've been specifically designed in order to go after snakes. They've got hardened scales that allow them to be able to withstand certain envenomations by snakes when they catch them, and so some eagles don't. But if we look at the majority of our eagles, you will see, so here, I mean, I'll show you the bateliers, and you'll see that they've got feathers all the way down to their feet. So the feathers come all the way in that direction. You'll find that even the fish eagles and the osprey, which are above, while their feathers don't go all the way to the feet, they do go very low down. Now these sort of plates and drawings are not quite that accurate. They do come down a little further than that, and generally they are just the feet kind of sticking out. Now earlier I was saying to you that we can sex these bateliers just by them sitting. Now you'll see the male, when he sits, he lacks any white on his wing at all. He's got this dark section, so he's got the light grey over the shoulder, and then the dark black primaries that come down. Whereas a female, you see the white bar that runs over her wing. That gives you an idea of what she looks like. When they're in flight, you'll then find that you can see the same thing in flight, where the male, deep, long, broad black lines on his body or on his wings, and then little thin kind of pinstripe on the female's wing, and that's why it shows so much more white when you see them sitting. Of course, when they are born, this is what they look like. They are these kind of brown, drab individuals that have no coloration, and are saying that it takes them 7 years to go from this juvenile into the sub-adult, and from the sub-adult into the adult up above. But it's an amazing transition from a brown eagle into that coloration. There is just the most wonderful thing, and like I say, a long transition too, so it must feel like forever for these bateliers to be able to come into adulthood. The nice thing about these three is that they are just so relaxed. I absolutely love them because you can drive right up near them, and we get the most kind of intimate views of them. It's an eagle that obviously is very pretty, but sometimes can be a bit flighty. In a lot of places you'll drive up and they'll kind of just fly off, and you won't actually get to see too much of them. So these three are actually really very pleasant, because you can spend a long time with them and you can get really close to them. In fact, we could probably get closer than what we are now. I'm not, because I wanted to see all three of them, and I don't want any of them to fly away, and I also want them to continue to be relaxed. I don't want to in any way give them some sort of reason to stop sitting around for us at the end of the day. But one of my favorite eagles for sure, and like I was saying just now, I'm surprised that they're not up and moving at the moment. Maybe they have fed already today. Their crops don't look particularly full. Generally you'll find if a batelier is fed, it gets this big swollen kind of crop section around the throat area, which these guys don't have. So I'm surprised with the number of carnivores that we have around. Often there are dead animals, and particularly in heat like this, you will sometimes find baby animals. So like these newborn impalas, there will be stillborn impalas around this area that these guys can then scavenge off and feed off. So it's an interesting thing to see all three sitting. Maybe it's because it's that time of the year that they are going to start trying to breed a little bit, and that's why they're kind of down on the branch, and there's maybe been some courting that's happened during the day. Joshua, raptors can be very territorial. At the end of the day, nesting sites don't come easily, and so when you find a decent nesting area, then they can push each other off quite quickly, and so they are fiercely territorial around their nesting sites. Certain species, I mean, other species not so much. You think of something like a whiteback vulture, they'll nest in colonies up on cliff faces, whereas these guys tend to nest only as a pair. Things like martial eagles, most of the eagle species are pair nesters, and they'll be territorial and fiercely protective of that area. The reason why they have to be like that is much like any other carnivore, is that it's very difficult to compete for mating rights if there's lots of you around. It's difficult for food items. There's only a finite amount of food as a predator or as a carnivore, and so you can't have 40 bateliers all nesting in the trees all around each other, because finding food and feeding those chicks is going to be very difficult, and so that's why they're territorial and they keep everybody at bay. But absolutely wonderful birds to see. I'm going to try and see if we can just maybe get a little bit closer. The road goes past them, so at the end of the day I've got to kind of carry on with the road. But if we can maybe get a little closer, we might be able to get that detail on their heads, which is the best thing. And especially if there's a bit of a breeze and they turn, all their feathers push forward and they get this big rounded kind of crown. It is absolutely beautiful when they get it. So let's see, maybe they're going to stay. Looks like they are. Hey guys. Oh no, there goes one. I didn't want it to go, but one is gone. So the male's gone, the female is now still there. You can see the white on her wing pattern. There we go. Look at that. Is that not beautiful? That is absolutely a wonderful view of a Bateleur. It doesn't get any better than that. You see that nictitating membrane on the eye as well. Every now and then there's that wind that I was talking about that fluffs their feathers. Unfortunately, you get a situation where it's not quite the right direction. I was hoping that if they faced us like that, the wind would just catch the feathers and fluff it all up, and they almost look like a chicken. But there's that membrane that I was talking about going constantly over the eye. I wonder if because there's a bit of a breeze and a lot of dust in the air, that membrane is doing a lot of cleaning over the eye just to make sure that this bird doesn't get too much dust there and doesn't get any sort of infections in the eye, because ultimately this is a bird that relies heavily on eyesight. Look at the size of its eye in relation to its head. Eyesight is a hugely important sense for a bird like this. They generally fly quite low, they spot carcasses, and then they come down and feed off them, so they need their eyes to be clean and working all the time. But she's blinking quite excessively at the moment. That is just so cool. To see a view like this is just the best. It's not very often we get to see these birds as close as this. Like I said, they generally are a bit flighty. The male wasn't too interested in having us this close, but the female, she seems fairly unperturbed by our presence at the moment. And there's the other male there. He's got adult coloration and adult plumage, so I'm not sure what he's doing and whether or not the others are being tolerant for some reason, but there's definitely no kind of aggression towards one another. Philip, you're asking if they will produce a clutch every year if maturity takes so long. Well, as far as I know, they do produce a clutch every year. There's normally only a single egg that hatches out of it. I have seen sometimes two together on a nest. It's not very common, but it's generally just a single egg. But I'm, to be honest, not sure what the sort of length of them looking after the egg is. So I know that these Bateleurs and the Bateleurs that I've followed most of the time do clutch every single year, and the sub-adults and the juveniles just kind of fly around within the area, but they're not really at the nest itself, and they'll look after the new ones. So it's an interesting thing. I would love to know if the frequency between them changes according to density, or the frequency of clutching changes according to density, or if there is some sort of reason for the frequency to become different. As far as I know, though, they are like most of the birds of prey, is that they clutch every sort of year and a half in terms of their kind of egg laying process.